The day my grandfather passed away was already one of the heaviest of my life, and while I was still trying to process the loss, my sister showed up at my office with not just one lawyer, but 4. They marched in like a small army, briefcases snapping open, papers slapped on my desk as though they had already won. My sister didn't even offer condolences. Her first words were cold, calculated, and dripping with entitlement. She said I needed to sign over my rights to Grandpa's estate, or I'd be dragged into a long and expensive court battle. The grief in my chest twisted into something darker. I sat there listening, watching her with her perfectly rehearsed smirk while her lawyers rattled off their threats and conditions. My heart pounded, but instead of snapping back, I reached for the teapot on the corner of my desk. I poured myself a slow, calm cup of tea, letting the silence drag on just long enough to make her uncomfortable. I could feel my palms sweating, but I forced a faint smile and simply said, "Sure. Everything will be settled tomorrow morning." Her smug grin widened. She thought she had won. What she didn't know was that I had already spoken with my grandfather weeks before his passing. He knew exactly how she was, how greedy she could be, and he had taken precautions. The papers she waved in my face were meaningless compared to what was coming. Grandpa had left a will, a very specific one, and I had been entrusted with making sure his wishes were carried out. That night, I barely slept. My mind replayed every sneer, every arrogant look she had thrown across my desk. I remembered all the times she had belittled me growing up, the way she called me the soft one, the one who wouldn't stand up for himself. She always believed she was smarter, sharper, untouchable. Now she was coming for the very thing my grandfather had worked his entire life to build. The next morning, I asked her to meet me at our grandfather's lawyer's office. She walked in with the same squad of attorneys, dressed in her sharpest suit, practically radiating confidence. I could almost see her rehearsing her victory speech. But when the lawyer opened the official will and began reading, the color drained from her face. Grandpa had left her something, yes, but it wasn't the empire she thought she was snatching away. Her portion was modest compared to what she demanded, and it came with conditions she couldn't possibly meet. The bulk of the estate, the businesses, the properties, the legacy, had been left to me. Not out of favoritism, but out of trust. Grandpa knew I respected what he had built, while my sister only saw dollar signs. The silence in that room was deafening. Her jaw literally dropped, eyes darting back and forth between me and the lawyer as if she could somehow rewrite the words on the page. Her lawyers shifted uncomfortably, realizing they had been dragged into a fight they couldn't win. She stammered, tried to argue, but every time she opened her mouth, the lawyer calmly pointed back to the will and Grandpa's signed instructions. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. The humiliation in her eyes was more satisfying than any words I could have thrown at her. She had walked in expecting to strip me of everything, and instead she walked out exposed, greedy, powerless, and furious. As I left the office, a strange peace settled over me. For once, I wasn't the quiet, overlooked sibling. I was the one holding the cards, not because I schemed, but because I honored the trust our grandfather had placed in me. Justice, in its purest form, had already been written long before she stormed into my office. If you've ever had someone try to bully you into submission, you know that moment when the tables finally turn. That moment when arrogance meets reality and all their power evaporates. That's exactly what happened here. My sister thought she could use intimidation, but in the end, all she walked away with was embarrassment and a reminder that greed never wins in the long run. And if you've ever had someone underestimate you, know this: sometimes the sweetest revenge is patience, preparation, and letting karma speak louder than you ever could. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button and tell me in the comments about the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories just like this one.